So today we're going to be taking a look at a scenario where Libya forms an empire. Now Libya is one of the 5 northern African countries that have a Mediterranean coast. It is also a country that is fairly unstable, with the civil war that started back in 2014 and technically ended in 2020, but there is still some political division within the country. But what if all of that wasn't a problem and Libya went on an expansionist conquest to form an empire? That's what we're going to be taking a look at today. So if you guys do enjoy today's video, make sure to leave a like on it and subscribe to the channel if you're new. We're trying to get to 200,000 subscribers relatively soon to get a whole bunch of special videos posted when we reach that milestone, so all the support is super helpful. Also, apologies for the commander's blanket in the background. I have a bunch of clothes on my dresser right now because I'm in the process of moving out and I have to get everything ready and I don't have anywhere to put all the clothes, so I just covered up with a blanket. Yeah. Anyway, let's go ahead and jump straight into this video. So like I said, Libya has a little bit of political turmoil within. However, we're going to be ignoring that in today's video, and we're also going to be assuming that Libya is going to form a capable and strong military and economy, basically meaning that they are going to be getting a divine boost from me. Yeah, we're buffing Libya because otherwise they wouldn't be able to form an empire. But as you can see, Libya's first move here is to invade Chad, and they will be going into the north of this country, which honestly, I don't know how valuable this would actually be. Other than just making the border look different, there isn't too much value in taking this northern land from Chad. But for the sake of this video not being completely unrealistic, we're going to go ahead and say that this is a flex on the other countries around Libya. Basically, they are showing off their capabilities by taking over half of Chad. And with this happening though, Chad is probably going to have to go ahead and surrender because Chad is not a very strong country, and Libya being buffed is. Also, just in general, Libya is stronger than Chad. But anyway, let's go ahead and take a look at this peace treaty. And in this treaty here, we can see that Libya will be annexing all of northern Chad. Like I said earlier, there really isn't too much value in this land other than the fact that Libya is just going to be flexing their capabilities here and kind of showing off to the other countries around them that they are serious about forming this new Libyan empire. Now let me know in the comments, is there actually any value in northern Chad? Is there like a specific resource that can be mined in northern Chad or found in northern Chad other than grains of sand? Let me know in the comments. But now Libya will be going ahead and focusing themselves down to the southwest where Niger is. Niger is another country that isn't too strong, and a country that is certainly weaker than Libya even without them being buffed. So when the Libyans decide to roll their tanks across the border and invade Niger, they will be having a similar circumstance to as what they experienced when invading Chad, and that is very little resistance. And if there is resistance, it's very minimal and not really affecting the advancing armies of Libya. Now once again, the Libyans here are invading into the Sahara Desert, which once again, nothing there. So the Libyans most likely have an obsession with sand. It's safe to say that they will not be killing a bunch of younglings. Obscure reference, but Niger is going to go ahead and surrender. There isn't too much point in fighting this war for them because what Libya will be taking isn't too valuable. Unless I'm wrong. Which, you know, once again, if there actually is important resources here that I'm just forgetting about or missing, let me know in the comments. But in this treaty here, we can see that Libya is once again taking a small bite out of a southern neighbor. Niger and Chad have both lost land, but both of these countries haven't lost anything too important, so they don't really care. But now the issue is that they are surrounded by some pretty strong countries, and I'm talking about Algeria and Egypt. Now to the north, there's a ton of strong countries like Italy, Greece, and, you know, the entirety of Europe. But other than that, you have Sudan, who is kind of in a civil war right now, and then you have Tunisia, who is a medium-tiered power. They're capable, but you might have a good chance at taking them out. So let's not do that. Let's invade Malta instead. This might be the first time that Malta has ever been invaded in one of my videos, but to put it simply, oh, I just accidentally eviscerated their population. There we go. That's right. All right, so now Malta is red, giving Libya a nice little naval base at the tip of Sicily here. I don't know if Italy would be threatened by this. Maybe we're going to see some reverse colonization. Who knows? We'll see. I think that's actually what we should do. We'll get to that later. But now Libya is going to be choosing a tougher target to invade, and that target is going to be Tunisia. Now, why not go after Sudan? Well, if they did go after Sudan, they would have a horrendous border. Yeah, I'm not all for that, so let's not do that yet. Invading Tunisia wouldn't have too much border gore, so we're going with that. Now the Libyans are fighting up against the strongest country they have fought thus far, other than Malta, of course. Can't forget how strong the Maltese are. Which means that we finally see a country retaliate against Libya's armies, pushing back their advancing forces, but failing to do anything about their southern advance, which comes up from behind and starts to threaten these counteroffensive troops right here. The Libyans will start to encircle them and successfully do so as the Tunisians are slow to get their armies out of here. Isn't there a big lake right here? I don't know. I kind of wish this map was more detailed in like where lakes were, because you know it has like the main ones, like the one up here and then the two in Kazakhstan and then you know the Great Lakes. But there are some smaller bodies of water, like there's tons of them across Canada and there's tons of them like all around this map that just aren't visible. And it kind of makes me upset because I feel like that, you know, making sure that troops aren't invading lakes is an important aspect in these videos. But anyway, Libya's armies will continue to invade Tunisia. Now they are facing more resistance and it's getting tougher and tougher to advance. And in some areas, the Tunisians are successfully pushing back. All of a sudden, it now looks kind of pathetic that Libya was trying to flex their muscles by invading Niger and Chad. But once again, we have to remember that Libya here is buffed, meaning that Tunisia would actually realistically just be a speed bump for them. So after the military generals get their head out of the sand, they decide that this is enough. We're going to blitzkrieg through Tunisia. Now, modern day blitzkrieg is, well, I don't know what that would look like actually. But basically, yeah, we're taking your capital city. Tunisia split into two different areas in which would likely experience guerrilla warfare, but eventually they would fall and Libya will be winning this war, fully occupying all of Tunisia. And let's go ahead and take a look at this peace treaty. And in this treaty here, we can see that Libya has fully annexed all of Tunisia. This is the first country they have fully annexed other than Malta. And, you know, Malta is kind of irrelevant because it's so small, but this is kind of bigger news because, as you can see, Libya now reaches all the way up here to the northern Mediterranean coast and has an even larger maritime border with their old colonizer in Italy. Revenge is on the horizon, but for now, Libya will have to be taking a break because countries around them are getting a little bit suspicious about their expansion. Yeah, sure, invading Niger and Chad is one thing. Invading Tunisia and fully annexing it, that's kind of another thing. Countries are now suspecting that Libya is doing an expansionist conquest, which is exactly what they're doing, but these countries don't know that just yet. So to beat down the suspicion, Libya will be going into hibernation basically for the next 5 years. In this 5-year time frame, the leader of Libya solidifies himself as a for-life dictator, abolishing presidential term limits and expanding the term limit of president in Libya. Now, I actually I don't know if Libya has presidential elections at all, or term limits, or democracy. I'm imagining that the civil war going on here has something to do with that, so what I just said probably isn't relevant. But I was actually trying to make a joke at El Salvador for doing that because their leader recently abolished term limits for presidents and extended the terms of president, which is very undemocratic in my opinion. And guess who El Salvador's biggest ally is right now? Oh, it's the United States. Anyway, back over to Libya. That 5-year deadline has passed, and now they are free to go out on their expansionist conquest again without fear of a coalition forming against them, theoretically. So where does Libya go? They have two big options, Egypt or Algeria, and there's also Sudan. But once again, I don't like border war, so we're not going to touch Sudan. That means we're touching Algeria, and I don't mean that in a weird way. Now, Algeria in real life would steamroll Libya, but that's not the case here. Like I've said, Libya has been snorting pre-workout and hitting the gym. They are ready for this fight, and the two sides here are pretty evenly matched. So when the Libyans start to invade into Algeria, their success rate is not very good. They make a few small advances along the border of Tunisia, but other than that, it's pretty evenly matched and stalemated. And we even see Algeria start to make moves up north towards the former capital of Tunisia. This is pretty alarming for the Libyans, who have experienced little to no resistance thus far, but Algeria is seeming like that formidable force, which they are unable to reckon with. So they will attempt to push even more troops out into Algeria and are met with heavy losses and heavy casualties, much more than the Algerians that are defending are experiencing, meaning that technically when the city of Tunis is captured by Algeria, this military operation is a failure. And once the Algerians start to push back against Libya, the alarms are sounded in Tripoli. As we saw, Libya used way too many troops attempting to push past Algerian defensive forces, which caused them heavy casualties, and that is now coming back to bite them. But thankfully, this is their video, meaning that another country will be getting involved in this war, and that country is none other than Morocco. Morocco versus Algeria. We've seen it very many times before, and unfortunately for Algeria here, they are going to be fighting a two-front war, which is never a good thing. But with Moroccan forces now crossing the border over into Algeria and threatening one of their major cities, Algeria will be forced to reallocate some troops to that defensive front, allowing for Libyan troops to hold off Algeria's counteroffensive in this region, and to an extent push back up in the north, but even more reorganization is needed on Libya's front before they can continue their war with Algeria. So for now, it's Morocco versus Algeria. let's see what happens. All right, so Morocco has captured the major city of Oran, and they are still pushing into Algerian territory, now focusing in on the northern, more populated areas as opposed to the more deserty areas. And the Moroccan army will start to near the capital city of Algeria, but finally we see that the Algerian army starts to push back, and their forces will be forced to take refuge in the major city they just captured. Here we see Algerian forces push right up to the coast, encircling this major city that is technically theirs. Moroccan troops will be forced to evacuate the city as Algerian forces push in and liberate their own major city. But back over here in the east, we finally see Libya push back against the Algerians and start a new offensive into the country, which is way more successful than the first one. After a few weeks of fighting, we can see that Libya's forces are heading straight towards the capital city of Algiers. And with that alleviation in the east, Morocco is able to push straight back out and over here in the west and take back this major city, now also heading towards Algiers. Eventually, they will reach the city gates, and this is where the bloodiest fighting of the war happens. But we do see Libya come out on top and meet up with Moroccan forces. Now, these two aren't official allies or anything, they're just fighting the same enemy. I would imagine that Libya has a pretty favorable view of Morocco since they helped them beat Algeria without any like diplomatic talks or anything. This was Morocco acting on their own, so I'm sure that after this war is over, they'll be really friendly with each other. But for now, let's finish off Algeria, which I mean, it kind of already is finished off. There we go, it's finished off. Nothing exists down here. Well, that's not entirely true, so a little bit more invading will happen around, but ultimately the Algerian government is gone, so they're going to go ahead and they're going to surrender. And let's go ahead and take a look at this peace treaty. And in this treaty here, we can see that there are land gains made by both Morocco and Libya here. I almost said Algeria, but that is not true. They lost a lot of land. So as you can see, Libya will be annexing all of this land from Algeria, and Morocco will be getting these two pieces of land from Algeria. And when it's all said and done, this is the new border of Northern Africa. So Algeria is looking absolutely abysmal. That is like really bad borders, but not much can be done about that. And now it's finally time for Libya to get its lick back. Yeah, Italy, guess what? What you did to Libya actually wasn't a good thing. Who would have known that colonization is bad? Anyway, Libya will send its first ever declaration of war. That's right, all the wars before this were undeclared. They just started invading, but this is the first official declaration sent by Libya to another country, meaning that it is business and it is personal. It is on site. Libya wants revenge for its occupation in all those years. So Italy's navy will battle up against Libya's navy, and since this is Libya's video, once again, their navy is going to win. Now, technically, there's no such thing as complete naval domination because other countries tend to always have reserve ships, and the only way for a country to actually win a naval war is if their navy is like far superior to their enemy's navy. Otherwise, they take each other down to a very low level, which is realistically what would happen even in this scenario, since we're not assuming that Libya is some kind of superpower that could just dismantle the entire Italian navy, but maybe they're going to do that anyway. The first area of Italy that they are attacking is of course going to be Sicily, and they're going to use two vantage points to their advantage: the tip of Tunisia and then Malta. They'll stage two landing grounds in Italy, one in the southernmost point and then one in the westernmost point. Both of these landings are successful, and Libyan troops begin to invade into Sicily, fighting off both the Mafia and the Italian army. Okay, so what is this city name? Is it Palermo? Or Palermo? Like, I'm really not too sure. I don't think that this is a letter, but that is exactly what I'm seeing right here. It could also be an R, so like Palermo, but I don't think that's what it is. I'm gonna go with Palermo. Speaking of that city though, it's captured by the Libyans. You know what else is captured by the Libyans? All of Sicily. So with the Libyans having a strong foothold in Italy, it is now time for another invasion, and this time it is going to be the invasion of Sardinia. This invasion will go even better than the Sicilian invasion because this invasion is met with little to no resistance. The Italians at this point are focused on protecting the mainland up here in the actual Italian peninsula, and this is where the brutal fighting begins, as Libya will attempt to fight their way up the Italian peninsula, experiencing heavy casualties, but moving nonetheless. The Italian army struggles to push back against the Libyans. Eventually, they reach up to the more open area of the Italian peninsula, which is this right here. Once this is achieved, the Libyans will then make another naval landing, this time at the heel of Italy, and this is mostly just to cut off defensive forces in this area, which is exactly what they do, isolating this area and squishing it, hurting the morale of the Italian army, which allows for Libya to push a little bit faster. With the rapidly deteriorating situation in southern Italy, the Italian army will dig in around these three major cities, which are also technically countries like the Vatican and San Marino. But this is the line, and they're not allowing for this area to be taken, but they're putting like a majority of their defense right here along this line. So Libya invading this area is going to go a lot quicker, but it doesn't mean that they aren't experiencing heavy casualties still. It's just that when they finally reach that defensive line, they are stopped in their tracks. And this is Italy's solution to the unstoppable Libyan army. Now, like I've said many times at this point, Libya is buffed, but they've also gained a lot of power with their invasions of other countries, and more specifically their invasion of Tunisia and Algeria. They also got a lot more sand. Who knows? Maybe they developed some kind of sand weapon that shoots sand particles at you at like light speed and it like rips through your body. I don't know. We got to get creative with this one. But with Italy dug in and Libya unable to advance, the two sides will be stalemated for a very long time. Months go by and neither side makes any major progress. Eventually, Italy will make a small counteroffensive and make gains against Libya, but the response to that is an enclosure of Naples, which the Italians definitely do not want to lose. So after a few more weeks of fighting, Italy will finally decide to sit down with peace talks with Libya to figure out this whole thing and possibly give up a lot of land. And yes, let's go ahead and take a look at this peace treaty. So in this treaty here, we can see that Libya will be fully annexing all of Sardinia and Sicily, as well as these 3 Italian provinces in the south of their peninsula. That will look something like this in the official deal, and as you can see, Italy has been reverse colonized, so take a big fat L for that, Italy. But also, they didn't actually have to give up too much of their land. Now granted, they still did give up a lot, like losing all of Sicily and Sardinia is kind of a big deal, but if the Libyans would have taken all of what they had occupied, their border would have looked something like this, which is a lot worse. Luckily, it doesn't look like that for the Italians, so all is good, but not all as well. I mean, you lost a lot of land, so I'm assuming it's not all good, but it could be worse. Anyway, that is going to do it for today's mapping video. So if you guys did enjoy it, make sure to leave a like on it and subscribe to the channel if you're new. All the support is greatly appreciated. As I've said, we're trying to get to 200,000 subscribers relatively soon, and when we reach that milestone, of course, we will have a ton of specials released, a ton of special videos around the milestone, of course, and a lot more. So if you want to see us get there, make sure to help us out. Once again, thank you all so much for watching this video, and I'll see you all in the next one. And of course, thank you to all our super fans. This includes Chill Turn Mapping, Omega the YouTuber, Illy Goated, Nevada Garbage Trucks, Vista Mapper, Xander Pro Productions, Geo1010 Gamer, Knighthood 7353, and Golden Ball Mapping, 101 Rotanami T, King Cheese, Australian Geo Guy, Zerminator, Icy Static FN, CTG on YT, Eagsco, Euroball, Augusto, A Norwegian, RS, Gail Martinez, Zaylance, What in the World? Freezioi, Laser Taze, Pablo Sigma Cat, Death Strider X, Hammer Toad 45, and DW Cool Dude. Once again, thank you guys.